All right, I'm Chad, and let's get this started. The person behind it? No. Would I interact with this person ever? No, I would avoid that at all costs. This person is pretty relentless. But I posted this, like, a summary of this on Reddit about a week ago, and what happened was it kind of trended a bit in the WordPress subreddit, and I guess this guy started upvoting all my comments, and I noticed some weird activity on my Reddit account, and eventually the account got banned for vote manipulation. Unfortunately, working on getting it back. I don't know if I'll be able to get it back, but yeah, this guy got it removed because it seems like he was trying to hide what's going on. But let's go into it, because I had a lot of questions. A lot of people asked me, they DM'd me, they wanted to know what was going on. There's been a lot of concern around this, and he keeps saying that I'm making all this stuff up. He calls it FUD. But let's do a deep dive. There's just too much content for me to just put in one post. It becomes very fragmented, me trying to explain this, that. It has to be done in a video format, so that I can just do this once and give it to someone that might be worried about this kind of thing. But yeah, let's go into what's actually going on. First, let's start out with the repo, the repository. Here you go. Looks really trustworthy. They have a nice little logo. Pretty good. Sponsors. Formatted well. This is a great repo. Like, the README is done very well. I would trust this, like, based on kind of looking at this. It does have only 6 contributors. That would scare me a little, because you got 6, and then you had this really large number, 600, and you got all these forks. And then the biggest thing that kind of looks kind of impressive is 21,700 commits. That is absolutely insane. To give you an idea, the WordPress project itself only has 50,000 commits. So this thing's already, there's half of all of WordPress right here, right? But let's compare it to other projects that are within a similar scope. You got WordOps. WordOps, great alternative. Been around for a long time. They have 2,149 commits. And another one has 5,367 commits. So then you ask, why does SlickStack have so many more commits than 2 of these very large projects? And the main reason, well, first let's look at the branches. Oh wait, there are no branches. Okay, well, what about these other projects? Okay, we got branches, we got tags. That's good. Okay, that means they're using releases. That's the correct way to develop a project like this. EasyEngine, the same. Tags, got a lot of versions. There's a lot behind this. There's been a lot of effort. So from the outside perspective, so far, SlickStack looks like a project that has more development behind it, but it's not true. These other 2 projects have much more development behind them. They have feature branches. They're just developed correctly. But let's go into these commits. Let's see, maybe he's just done so much, Okay, now if you look at the commit messages, you'll see, wait, yeah, if I was doing this at my employer's, if I was doing this for my employer, like committing like this, I'm gonna be fired right away. But normally, if it's a personal project, you can commit like this, fine. But this is a project that tries to mask itself as like a foundational piece of software that you will install as a foundation on your server, and you need to have an extreme amount of trust, because this is going to be running root level. So it's important that this is developed correctly. But okay, another thing I was thinking when I saw this was, is he really typing this, like, the file names every time? Like, this is weird. How do you even get a commit style like this? And then I remembered like someone mentioned something, and I put the two and two together, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think this guy is just using the GitHub editor, like the built-in GUI in here, where like you can edit code using GitHub. It's an option. He's built this. I think he's built this whole project just using the GitHub editor, which is like an insane, like I don't know how someone would architect software like that. That's like an extreme amount of effort just to go into each file and edit like that. In normal, for anyone watching this that doesn't know about development, and they're just using WordPress and they're installing public plugins and they know a little bit about the terminal, and they try to run these projects that this guy's trying to get you to run. His whole thing is he wants to get you to run this, which is a dangerous command. You should never run something like this if it's from an untrusted project. It's making a request and it's taking it from a third-party domain, not the repository, and that domain is you're trusting it that it's going to give you like trusted content, which in my perspective, who knows? And then it's piping it to Bash. Running the file in Bash, and yeah, now he's running code right on your system, like you just did this, and he's saying that you have to run this as root. So if he did something bad at this point, he's rooted your machine. This is a common practice to get something on your machine to start. This is not malicious normally. Like normally people are not going to do anything malicious on this, but you should be aware that doing something like this, when it does have a vanity domain, it can be extremely dangerous if it's from an untrusted person. This is like code you don't want to run. But if you trust the project and it's got a lot of people behind it, you most likely can trust it. But it would be nicer for someone that's not as big, that's trying to pretend to be big, for them to just reference the CDN, and then you can trust it a little bit more, because it's like what you see is what you get. You can look at the file. This redirection stuff is scary. But let's move on. Let's go to the main issue, which is the cron tab. This is what scared the shit out of me when I saw it. When I was going through, I saw some weird wget calls that were going with no check certificate, and they were going to this domain as well. And it was weird because I was auditing the rest of the project, and it had some, I think I saw like one, I didn't go too deep in, but I saw another call that was referencing the repository. And I noticed on this domain, it just redirects to the repository. So this is very odd. You're using a vanity domain normally because you just want that one install command to look nice. And behind the scenes, most people would not be using a vanity domain. They would be referencing the project if he's trying to get it to work like this. And in some cases, I saw references to the CDN, the GitHub CDN. He has not replaced all of the calls that do this type of weird, remote execution approach. So that was odd. And the reason why you're seeing a change set here is because I had to find it the day that he changed it. So if you look here, previously it referenced the GitHub CDN, which is safer, but not that safe, because at any time this guy, based on this code, this guy could swap that with something malicious. But if he were to have done that in the previous situation where it was like this, it would have impacted everyone. So this one, people would have noticed if he did something weird. Not everyone maintains their servers the same level. There are people that are extremely they'll commit everything, and they'll do change sets on their whole system directory. They would notice something changed in the wrong. Some people, they'll notice that something changed, and they even have software that will detect file changes that in certain folders. And if they see something weird happening a lot, this probably could trigger it. And so someone could have detected whatever he might have delivered if he did it this way. But because he switched it to this, there's a lot less of a chance that you detect it, because now it's going to slick.fyi. It's a very slick way to take over your machine, because now he can be auditing all of those IP addresses that have been pulling code down over every 3 hours and 47 minutes, as stated here. It pulls code remotely and it places it in your cron folder, which will be ran as root. Now, the issue here is quite clear. You know, he could target an individual. He can look at your IP. He can say, oh, okay, this IP is connected to this website. Okay, I want to take over that website. So you know what? I'm going to update this script only for this IP for the next 3 or 4 hours, and then they'll consume that payload, and that payload will get delivered. In the payload, he can do whatever he wants. He can, who knows what he wants to do, but he can do whatever he wants. He can add his SSH key to your machine, and then he can log into your machine. That was, you know, like he can do whatever. Then, you know, this allows him to do whatever he wants, and it's very dangerous. And for him to claim that he needs to do this is ridiculous. But he did. He publicly responded, and he said the reason why it works like this is because rate limiting. And I'm thinking, okay, rate limiting. Does that make sense? Well, you got, 6 requests here that run every 3 hours and 47 minutes. What's the rate limit on GitHub CDN? When I looked, it's about 60 requests in an hour. That's it's a pretty big budget right there. That does not add up. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's pretend that was a valid claim. Let's pretend that rate limiting was an issue. When you go to that right now, as it stands, it gives you a redirect. Okay, where does a redirect? To the GitHub CDN. So, you know, if you had a rate limiting issue, you'd still have a rate limiting issue. This doesn't actually fix anything. The only purpose for this to be like this is so that he can be in the middle. This is the only reason I can think of, especially when you go through his project. You'll clearly see that there's something going on. Sorry. Okay. Now, let's look at what else is going on. If you look, he's still got no check certificate everywhere. All over the place. 30 files like this. And then look, he's making calls to GitHub user content, GitLab. You know, he's not using that domain everywhere. He's only using that domain for the most dangerous part, which is something that happens a lot, unnecessarily. Like if you're creating a mechanism to check for versions, there's just so many better ways to do it. Also, like something like SlickStack, I don't even think is justified to have an automatic update system, at least force you into opting into it. And also, like if you are being forced to opt into something like this, you would expect that it would have been done in a more secure way. Because as it stands, when we unwind how this actually works, let's do that. Because when you unwind how this works and you say, okay, you got crons / whatever the file name is, all these different crons, he goes into the minute, daily, half weekly. So he goes into your daily crons. He really wants access to the daily. He left the hourly. I think right now, actually, let me check. I'm pretty sure he changed this. 1 second. This code looks different. One moment. He changed this. Sorry, here we go. Okay, this is even more weird. So, look at this. This is the most scary thing to me. He didn't update all the crons. Original commit, he updated only a portion of those crons. Later on, he updated all of them. So all the crons now pull from Slick. So I'm wrong, actually. It's a more requests. It's about 20 requests that happen every 3 hours and 47 minutes. Now, this is scary. But let's see. Okay, so what does this do? It pulls this file. And then if you think about, okay, how is this project being managed? Okay, it's full of a bunch of files that are text files, and then they get pulled into this server, and they get placed into your crons folder, and then they get ran as right here. You can see. Okay, so let's get into the crons, CHOWN logic. So instead of just saying, okay, we're only gonna update the permissions on these files here, right? Which would be, let's pretend that happened. So if it did that, then if someone that was not root was in your machine, they could not edit those files, right? Correct. Now, in this case, what has happened was you can put, if you put any file in that folder, it can be run as root. That's not good. I would not do that. But another thing that made me laugh was when I looked up this code. When I looked up just, I think it was just CHOWN, yeah, like this. I looked this code up. I forgot because someone said something about repetition. And I was just wondering, is there, holy shit. Look at that, 154 files in the project that all have similar, like it's the same, holy shit. It's the SS folder, anything with the SS folder with that name, like Cron asterisk, like, oh my God, like, I mean, all over your machine, these are potential attack vectors where you can get code in that will be root, it'll eventually be upgraded to root. What could you do in that situation? I would be very careful about this as well. This is an issue. This should be fixed. This is dangerous, but how does he update that file so that, like, how does he make changes to that file to come to you? Well, he's working off master. So he's literally just going into the GitHub editor, and he's just saying, okay, well, I'm going to change this. I'm going to push this file. Okay, we're going to update the crons minutely, and we're going to put in this paste. Okay, and then save, and then commit. Okay, now right when he clicked commit, and he didn't have to verify if it worked or whatever. I'd assume he's not verifying how it works based on his activity. It looks like he's just working on this. He's using this as like a personal project. So he'll push updates, and it'll update his system. And then he'll like, if something goes wrong in the system, he'll update the project again. But behind the scenes, it's still updating these files. I can't see where it 100% is updating the crons. The crons have no protection from anything. He does have some code, like later on when you go deeper into the project, it'll update non-cron files automatically as well. But in those cases, he's got like these different, it's done really bad, but he's got these different file version numbers he uses, which that'll be checked, and then it'll update the file or not based on that. So he does have a way to kind of change that version, but the way the cron works is it doesn't care about the version. As you look at the code, it doesn't care. It'll update all the time. It's always updating unnecessarily. And then behind the scenes, that stuff's running. And in the stuff that it's running, it's also making remote calls as you look into here. So all these calls are making remote calls. Like, this is terrifying. But you see that they are going to repost most of them. So I'm not too concerned about that. But knowing more, I'll explain more about this individual. But now that I know who's behind this, knowing who's behind this, I would be worried about this, because this is just, it's all over the place. And his response to why this is safe is that you just need to edit this variable. And let me find it. Okay, look at this. So Jesse says that it's safe because you can edit these variables here. You just modify these if you want to fork SlickStack. But it's not true, because in order to to update, you have to edit multiple files. So when I looked at it, I was thinking, okay, that's kind of good. Maybe he does have a point there. And then I'm thinking, no, the cron doesn't honor that. It doesn't honor that. You look at the cron, it does not take in those 4 variables. So if he's telling people hidden inside of his project in this SS functions file, okay, you just modify these and it will use your GitHub project. No, that's not really the full story. If you did that thinking that you're safe, you're not safe. And when I looked at all his forks, because he says, oh, we have 100+ forks, they're all using my project. They know how to do it. They just fork it. No, because when I looked at the project, none of them have edited this hidden file, because people don't really understand what the hell's going on. Because most of the users, I assume, the ones that have looked at the code, I assume there's none that have looked at the code and actually decided to use it. It was just the people that just looked at the project and trusted it because of its marketing. But when you look in the code, you'd think that, okay, this is how I edit it. I'll edit that there. Now I'm good. We're using my repo. And then guess what happens? So it'll use that sometimes. But even if it does use that, the files that'll pull are from your repo. And in your repo, there's other calls that they'll pull from his own repo. And plus the crons are never updated. So they'll still pull from his vanity URL. So this is not a point. Like, forking his project, it means you have to edit all the files. Like, there's no easy way to get this out of the project. He can keep attacking me, but this is how it works, and people should know this is how this project works. It's pretty much remote code all over execution. There's execution everywhere remotely, and it's going to multiple domains, multiple repositories, his own personal domain. It's just a mess. That's what's going on. And he might be upset. I originally brought it up just trying to tell him, hey, this is a little bit wrong. And no, he attacked me, harassed me, but I don't want to go too far into what he's done to me personally. This video is not really about that, but it might make a point. It might be good for me to bring up, like, publicly his history. Because again, using a vanity domain is trust. It requires trust. Like, you're running this code because you trust this person or this repo or this project or this company, because if something goes wrong, they'll eventually be accountable for it. And or if you do report something that is an issue to them, they'll handle it and they'll fix it and but in this case, no. People brought awareness to what was going on as well to one of the topics I opened in Low End Talk. Or no, I didn't open this one. He opened a topic attacking me again, and called it something crazy. Said I forked the project because I was trying to deliver malicious stuff. Actually, I forked the project because I want other people to be able to audit his project. If you try to pull his repository down, it's like 520 megabytes large, when in reality the code is only like 2 megabytes. It's because he keeps committing this way that he's got such a giant repository. No one's going to fork that. Like, for someone to download that project and work on a machine, no one's going to fork a half a gigabyte project when it's only 2 megabytes of code. So I forked it to kind of pull it down, do some analysis on it, and make some changes that I felt like were the most worrisome. And but when I went more into it, I eventually decided, you can't save this project. This project needs too much work. The whole way of updating and functioning pretty much needs to be changed, because it's just dangerous. This is dangerous code being pushed as secure, which is some of the worst things you can do. And now we're going to get into this person, the person behind SlickStack. Who are they? Can you trust them? Do they have a past? Well, they do have a past. And can you trust the marketing of SlickStack? Okay, let's go. And by the way, this person's attacked me. I do have a past, but I'm not trying to get you to run root code. Okay, so my past should be irrelevant. You can talk about it, whatever, but this person's past is extremely relevant because he is actively running root code on your machine. So let's get to know the guy behind the project. Let's get to know the guy behind the project. LittleBizzy. Oh, there's a guy named WpJohnny. Now I stumbled upon this. This showed up really high when I Googled his name, and wow, he's actually kind of famous in the WordPress community, and he's famous for not good reasons. He's famous for harassing people, and he's famous for racism. Okay, well now he should be famous for creating malicious code because this is malicious code. But when I went more into this, apparently he even had a lawsuit. Now, what? Oh, Neumont University versus LittleBizzy. And then when I look at it, I was like, $1 million lawsuit? What is going on here? Now, this is a default judgment. It says that, he would have to pay that. That's not actually what happened here with his case. What happened was from what I looked at, I ended up going deep into this. It's kind of hard to find the court records because it's so long ago. But I went deep into the court records, and apparently this guy, he ran a college website. And in this college website, he would allow people to review colleges, which can be useful, right? But what he would do is he would allow colleges to pay him to be like a partner or a sponsor, and he would allow them to pretty much filter the comment section, like the commenting. And it's kind of an extortion racket, right? Because knowing what I'm about to tell you about what this guy does on his forums, he just fabricates his conversations with himself. So when I looked at the case and what was claimed in the case, like, it's like, yeah, of course this guy did it. This is what this guy does. He like creates fake accounts. He talks to himself. Like would it be that far from him doing that on his own, like on a college website in order to get the college to partner with him so that they'll filter commenting. So he's SEO expert. So he gets his page ranked really high and pretty much forces you to to become a partner so that you can take that stuff down. Kind of what Yelp used to do, but this is like much more extreme. This is I'm sure the comments were worse considering what he's been doing. But yeah, that's a little bit of history. Now he fled to Thailand. This is what happens. He flees to Thailand, lives in Thailand for a while, gets a job in Thailand. Now all the time in the U.S., they don't know where the guy is, and the court's trying to serve him. I mean, the court's trying to contact him. They can't really contact him. Neumont University's trying to find him. They're trying to serve him. The court's saying, well, you know what? It's not in our district. You can't. It's not in Nevada. You can't. It's not going to work. You can't do this here. You have to serve him. Can you serve him? Serve him. Serve him. And they couldn't find him because he was in Thailand. And what eventually happens is that the court eventually, years later, finally allows Neumont University to serve him by email. And I don't know how, but this guy lucks out because the judge gave them like a 1 or 2 weeks, like for the fact that the case goes for years, and then like they send something, I guess, to the college or the person or whatever that was in communication with them. Okay, you got a 2-week window. 1 or 2 week window, you gotta respond back, and you can serve him now, and obviously that doesn't happen. So because no one responded, which could have happened because maybe the person left, like who knows? It could be many reasons, but no one responds, and the case gets dropped. So he's free. He can travel around. He doesn't have to worry about legal consequences again. But he learned a valuable lesson: is that as long as they don't know where you are, they can't get you. And personally, like after what he's been doing to me and my family, like it's true. Like if someone's harassing you online and you can't find out where they are, they can keep harassing you. And this is this guy's motive. Like he's how he operates. He does this to everyone. No one can sue him because they don't know where he is. And when I spoke publicly about him, I had a lot of people contact me. They send me emails asking more information, told me their stories about what he's done to them, and it's just kind of nuts. But I don't want to go too much into those details. You can find them on your own. This guy's got a very long history with that. But let's go back to the activity publicly. Like, can you trust the project? Well, let's look. He's got this SlickStack.io forum, and it's just him posting to himself. You can see here 219, 220, 224, 224, 226, 229, and it's just him. And then he keeps bumping his own projects for SEO. He just uses this as a SEO tool. But if a new person comes here, they might think this is trustworthy. They might think these are real people. Now, originally when I saw this forum, I thought they were real people. They got to be real. Isabella, you got Amber, you got Carol. These are, and they're generic names. But then you find out more. This guy's using an anonymous message board. So visually, it looks like real people, but it's not. It's just him, and that's dangerous. There's a lot of them though. He's got over here. He's got a blacklist. Now, blacklist. That's a funny one right there. When I was looking at more about this guy and his company, his LittleBizzy company that was sued for $1 million because he was defaming a company. I'll also look at the times real fast. 09, 12, 22, 24. I mean, no one uses this site. It's dead. There's not many people in this forum. There's very few actual real people. It's just him. You can look at a lot of the comments. You'll see this trend. He does kind of circle back and comment again, but all this is fabricated activity in order to build trust and lure you into installing his software. Similar thing here. Yeah, same thing. DTDT. Bunch of posts, Here, this is like another example of the fake content on his websites. I mean, he created a forum on his LittleBizzy website, and it's full of the same thing as the SlickStack website. But you can tell again on the times, he does not put too much effort in the times. 650, 651, talking to himself. Pretty sure they uses it. It's not. In other words, I can make my own little, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 posts within 4 minutes on his personal business website, not even a project website. There's literally no users that would ever even post on this forum. It's a perfect example of how the content's fake. You can't trust any of this stuff. LittleBizzy banned. What? You can't see his URLs anymore because now he redirects to another website called hucksters.net. But hucksters.net is basically his way to dox people and harass them. So what he'll do is if he's upset with you, he'll look up your name, he'll create a page on you, and he'll just try to concoct the most worst story about you in order to show up high on the search results. He will post some real stories there, and he will try to make it look real, but this guy's malicious. The intent is malicious, and it stemmed originally from how he was working with clients. Because these pages, if you go back in the Wayback Machine, you'll see that these pages, all of them, were previous clients, not open source users. Some of them were open source users, but a lot of them were his customers that he installed his software on, or maybe uses open source and they just ask for help. Now, banning someone and talking about them and creating negative content to want to, everyone in the tech world has something that the majority of the population does not. Like, they don't know how to write code. They need help. They don't know how to do SEO. You have that thing that people want. And what you use that thing to hurt people and be malicious. That's just not good. And I don't want to talk about race yet, but it's the same thing. This guy is very openly racist. Same thing with the tech community. Majority of the community has not had any racism in it, like gender, all this stuff. We don't really care. We look at the code, and maybe this guy's racist because his code's so bad, so he tries to lean on something else. Because most tech people I know, they're not racist, and most of the open source projects I've seen, that's the least thing they care about. But yet, they'll care about other things, like if you use your tabs or spaces, or how much indentation you use, or if you like to use colons. Like there's all kinds of other things that they don't like in the community. But the thing that is never really, I don't know, we just don't have racism. And this guy, I'm gonna go into the Quora thing, but let me start with this. Like, he offers a service where you can buy Quora answers. So he's an SEO expert, which I wouldn't deny that. I think he's pretty good with SEO, as seen with what he's been able to do by harassing people. He's a professional. I would argue that, a lot of the courts would say, like, if a professional fighter punches you, that's assault with a deadly weapon. In this case, he's a professional SEO specialist, which is assaulting you with his ability to pretty much destroy your career. If you have one, if you need to have a reputation, he definitely can. If he doesn't like you, he'll open up a bunch of accounts and he'll post a bunch of stuff. So when you search Quora, oh my God, it looks so bad. But no one will really be searching Quora. They'll be searching on Google, and eventually Quora answers make it into AI. So what he's basically doing is he's training AI to think negatively about all these people, which is, he's pretty big brained, right? Now, knowing how big brained this guy is, check this out. Now, this was asked a while ago, but is SlickStack a far-right software community? Well, okay, not a community. There's no community. But look at the logo. This person posts, the SlickStack creator is clearly a Nazi sympathizer. That sounds crazy. Like, what do you mean? Okay, wait. And then I didn't even know, I don't know too much about Nazi history. I know the swastika, but I've never even, I've maybe seen it in a movie, but I didn't really know what this symbol meant. And when you look at it, especially the tattoo, like, the tattoo looks just like, come on. It's the same thing. This is very large similarity between these two things. Maybe a little outlandish, but maybe this guy's so big brained where he's like, okay, it would be a great logo. I can put my racism into this open source project, and I can also infect everyone with it. Yeah, this guy's just bad news. So yeah, stay away from this project. I don't really know. Stay away from the person. If you think I'm wrong, if you know of any other projects that operate this way, leave it in the comments. Like, I would love to know other projects that pull remote code and advertise themselves as secure, and just fully operate on remote code execution and use vanity URLs and only have one real maintainer and expect many people to use it, and also are not contactable and are traveling around the world trying to evade the law enforcement. That's the guy I'm going to try.